Welcome back, fellow scrubs. I'm Mark D. Wiz, project lead of the Retro Mansion game, for lack of a better title, and we're going to do more programming today. So, let's see if I can remember what we were doing since I was sick last week. And last time, because I was sick on stream. And with sick brain, I wasted time going in circles, of course. So hopefully sick brain stays away. I feel a lot better, so I think we're in the clear. And then I can actually get something of note done here. So we have, I believe we did the head portion. Oh, the corner. Yeah, we did the corner part, so that he can't protrude into the wall with the corner, because he used to go all the way up to the center point, and he could still bump his head. So the sort of nuance here is that if it detects the shape as a ceiling, then he'll be able to move all the way up to his head, as you'll see. This might be the best way to do it. I'm going to make him semi-transparent so you can see kind of what's going on. And let's also make this a better color here. I think there's like green or something. Oh god, that's way better. Okay. Oh, let me readjust this now. That'll be a little more there. Okay, so beyond the sprite, you see... Excuse me. You see that he hits the center point and the corner of the character protrudes into it. And basically the reason for this is because it's mirroring the floor behavior here. So because you could stand on the center point in the floor, it makes sense that you would stand, the inverse would be, if you want to use the word stand, you'd be connected to the ceiling by the top of your head. And you can actually observe this in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, which was one of the games that I studied before getting into this whole mess. Oh, by the way, if you don't know, the music today is same as last week, although last week was a hellhole stream. But I did just want to listen to it again. This is the Ganbare Goemon, or Legend of Mystical Ninja soundtrack for the first two N64 games mixed together. And for me, it holds a particularly special place in my gamer heart. And it's really good shit. Really good music. Very indicative of the era, not area. So hopefully you enjoy that. It's obviously all Japanese flavored, but it's really good. It's really good. So, this is where we are. So the idea is that if it detects it as a wall, you cannot protrude into it. If it detects it as a ceiling, which means it's an angle that's walkable, but from the top, which we might detach those two if we need to have more nuance in it. We might have to detach the two values, because that's this one here, the max walkable angle. It's just being applied in reverse. But if it detects that this is a wall instead, which it would be in this case, and you see, it causes it to, it should still here too. It causes it to stop right here. And so if we have that, and we'll say that this is invisible. Does it? It doesn't become invisible. Really? That's interesting. Well, I believe I can just turn off the mesh render. I'm gonna put this back to being gray, and we'll just turn the mesh render off. And there we are. So visually, it looks, you can jump inside shapes so far. Well, I might have to reset it. He's just gonna be inside. He can't get back in his trap. So in this case, I gotta turn mesh render off again. reset that. That's simple. There we go. So you can see where he won't go in. And visually he's, you know, stuck at that angle. The only danger that I can surmise from this, potentially, is that if the angle, if like say the thing's rotating on its own, and the angle suddenly hits a point where now it's detected as a wall, what will happen when it pushes you out? That's one of my only fears with this. So here, where it's a ceiling, he can get closer to it with his head. So that's how I laid it out so far. And it just kind of is what it is. And he can walk in all other context. Right now he doesn't fall. He will just simply... yeah, here I think it's detecting this as a walkable angle or something, and he's not allowed to go into it. Or he's allowed to go into it because it's a walkable angle. So let's say 48. So say 45-degree angle is the highest that you can go up. Yeah, then I don't know, for some reason he's walking up that still. That doesn't seem right. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I did 450 by accident, or 455? It was set to 180. Yeah, okay. So he can't walk that. Same here. It is letting him go into it for some reason, though. We'll have to work that out. Oh, yeah, you can't see it because debug was off, but there's a shape here. So yeah, he can't walk into it, but if he lands on it, currently, it lets him land on it. But we'll have to make him get pushed away from it in some capacity. But that's what we got so far. It's getting complicated, and I do have some concerns about some parts of the design that may have to change. Like again, what if this? If I can get in there here. What if this? Because now it's seen as a ceiling. What if this eventually rotates in real time to the point where it's considered a wall? You know? So, I might be able to actually do that. Let's see, you are this one, right? Yeah. We'll see how he popped out. Or say it's coming in, and then now he can walk in. You see what I mean? So there are some real-time issues here. Let's see. Yeah. And he'll pop right in. Boop. Yeah. And so that's, I mean, he gets stuck, we can potentially work a way to not get him stuck, but, let's see. Let's do it from the other, no, he's stuck. There we go. Let's do it from the other angle, where we'll say that it's a ceiling, but eventually, he's gonna pop out. Yeah, see where he stops, and then he pops. So how should you handle that kind of thing, you know? Like, what's the protocol there? You don't want him to get popped out like that. So that's part of the problem, you know? And I'm not sure I have a great solution for that yet. So, who knows? And the other alternative is to say that the ceilings always act on the corners here. But I did not observe that in this new Super Mario Bros. For Wii. I observed that the center point on the bottom seemed to also apply to the head. And it kind of makes sense. Like, say, for instance, that you're playing Castlevania. We'll take Cynthia Knight as the example. Or you can even say Arya Sorrow, and then you can turn into a bat form. When you're contacting in the bat form, because you're flying, right? So there's no gravity. If you're contacting the ceiling when you're up that, and then you move into a slope on a ceiling, you're basically walking upside down at that point. Like, you're not attached to the ceiling. But I'm assuming that something similar to reverse walking code is taking place. And let me just pull up a paint diagram. Back to my famous paint diagrams here. So we've got... that's a shitty color. Yeah, there we go. And then we'll have... here's us. We'll pretend that this is a bat, something like, let's say. There's our top, there's our bottom. So when we're flying, we go up and we hit our head here, right? And then say we're flying and we're moving now to the right. Oh. And eventually we're going to hit this point here. So, I mean, it makes sense that you would want to walk on... oh, I'm getting some high CPU usage. Hold on. What do we got here? We got... nothing else. That must have just been an abnormal spike. Nothing else. Interesting. So once you get up here, it kind of makes sense that you're using the walking code, the center point code, on the ceiling. Because, well, you hit a slope, right? It's the same thing. And then you just kind of move. So if you're not, you're holding up to get... God damn it. Can't grip this thing for anything. You're holding up, and then you hit here, and then you let go up, and then you hit just right. And so you'll fly this way until you hit here, but it'll automatically move you down like it's a slope, even though you're just holding right. Just like if you're walking on the ground, say now this is the ground, and you're walking left, it's going to move you up the slope. Well, it's the same thing on the ceiling, right? Where it'll move you like that. But the real problem here is, you know, at what point does that now become a wall? You know what I mean? At what point do you say, no, that's a wall now? And if it's rotating in real time, so if we say we're going to do an advanced platforming engine, that's going to take, you know, automatic rotating things. Like, how does that work? Like you saw, he just popped out. And maybe that's how you handle it. You just pop them and that's it. But I'll be honest, it's going to look weird. It really is going to look weird. So is there a solution? There might be. I mean, you can't necessarily fly like you can in Castlevania when you're playing Mario, New Super Mario Bros. For Wii. So it's a little hard to test that kind of thing. But it's possible that Castlevania Symphony of the Night does something similar. But then you don't have rotating platforms there. So, yeah. You know what I mean? So it's hard to test that kind of thing. I'm trying to think of any kind of game that would have, especially like 2.5D games would also be a good candidate to study here in a way, depending on how they're done, because they have the capability to rotate your geometry to any angle, and it can do so in real time. So how do they handle that kind of thing? You know what I mean? It's very... it just... oh man, it's just a thing. It's just a thing. I don't know. So... well, anyway, hold on just a second. we're all set. Yeah, so I'm not sure what game might be a good case study for this kind of thing. It's really hard to tell. I'm wondering if let's see. Like, could you say that maybe the wall detection starts here, and then this position here represents like your angle of detection for like what is a wall and what's not a wall. But then if your angle of detection is like really steep, like you could end up with shit like this, you know? And then it would sort of almost be maxed out depending on your actual character height, and that might not be good either. Because then, like, nothing here would be counted as a wall? Like, I'm not sure that would work right. So, I don't know. It's unfortunately something that we're going to have to think about sooner than later, because if we go without addressing this kind of thing, it might come back to haunt us in a huge way later. But, well, regardless of that, I suppose, if they if they have the pop, they have the pop, I guess. The same thing would happen, say, if you were, and I'm just going to pause it to simulate this, because he's not equipped to handle this in any degree, but say you're moving this way, eventually, you know, and it gets to a high enough angle, just pretend that he was moving with him. Well, he'll eventually just pop, and because this now becomes a wall, he'll pop out that way and start falling. It'll look really weird. I think it will look weird. So, I don't know. How are you supposed to handle that? Like, imagine, for instance, that you were playing Mega Man X, and the walls are rotating on you, and it actually could be a case for that in X7 or X8. And then, you know, you're going from here to here, and then all of a sudden, you know, the rotation gets to that point. So say you're falling here, and this doesn't count as a wall. It counts as like, yeah, it doesn't count as a wall. It counts as a really steep slope, and like you have to slide down it or something. Like you could slide this way, but would that look weird? You know what I mean? So then what happens when it eventually rotates enough? Do you go like pop? Like how would that work? Because you definitely have to be outside of it in order to like wall climb and slide down it. So how would that work? How would you make that work? Hello.
Hello, sorry, I had a work call.
That's okay. Love you.
I love you too.
Was it a good one at least?
Well, okay. No, it was just the case manager that I worked closely with, making sure I was going to be at work tomorrow.
Yeah.
We had an incident, and the coworker that stepped in to handle it for me in my absence was talked a little bit, so.
Gotcha. Getting up to speed. Okay. Okie dokie. So yeah, like how would you handle this? There's got to be some sort of nuanced way to do it. Like maybe at the point that you do detect that there's something here that it smoothly pops you out. It's not, whoop, but you know, it just like pushes you out over a couple frames. But even then, something's not right. And even then, something's gonna be weird. I don't know. I'm not sure if there's a great solution here. But the alternative is that your box is your box, and when you're walking along the ground, you go up angles like this, and I don't like that. It just doesn't look right. And certainly, New Super Mario Bros. Wii absolutely does do center point. It just how Mario's always worked, and it's always looked good. And a lot of platformers do it. Alright. Maybe you'll be able to glean something. Let's do a little research, huh? Do the Wii U. Or is it just called U? World 1, oh boy. Oh boy. It's an appropriate commercial at least. I'll give YouTube credit for that. Alright, let's get him the level 1 here. Is there anything crazy going on that we can glean from here? I guess first thing to note is notice how his feet are, and then when he hits a slope, you'll see that he retains his center point. His legs get tweened. I'm not sure if that's the right word. Or inverse kinematic, so that his legs are situated on the surface, like they actually, like the knees actually bend to make sure his legs don't go through the floor.
Now you're talking English.
But yeah.
Nerd.
Oh, he's just gonna fly, isn't he? Go down the slope. Oh my god. Yeah, of course there's not gonna be anything.
Get a girlfriend, nerd.
What? You're not my girlfriend anymore?
I don't know, everybody calls me your wife, so I guess not.
Oh, okay. Well, that's even better, I guess. Oh, here.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, you can see it probably best here. You can see where his legs, so his body centers here, and it's, god damn it. Here. Let's get a nice bright color here. You can see this is his center point, so his body's position is basically this. If I can draw a little straighter, it would be nice. And see, his center point is here, and his axis is here, which, yeah, that all lines up. So, he's running, so I don't think that they're using the inverse kinematics to make his knees pop up. I think that's the right term for it. Because he's in this running pose. But you do see it there. What I'd like to see is, are there any rotating platforms? I would assume that in the first world here that we're not going to get too much of that. Might in here, the way this works. If he happens to jump into... See, I don't have the Wii U version. Oh, boy. It's boxing Mountain Dew Grandpa. Great. If he happens to jump into... nah, he didn't seem to jump into the actual corner there. Oh yeah, him jumping up here is probably a good, Yeah, you see it here. You can just see the flat plane. And he's center pointing, absolutely. Well, might have been as good a shot as any to find it. See, he went into his fireball animation, it was a little hard to see. It didn't look, to me, it did not look. Oh, let's go back. It did not look like he hit a center point on his head. But here, look at this, look at this, look at this. Look at that, look at that. Where his head's in the floor, he's center pointing on the head. He's absolutely center pointing on the head here. Here's platform. This is probably his physical box right here. He's center pointing on the head. It's exactly what I described. He's center pointing on the head. And so you can actually see, because of his great forward momentum, he's actually walking along the ceiling. He's actually doing exactly what we were talking about. Here, he's moving with more momentum forward than gravity is pulling him down. There we go. So he's moving like this, and then the 4 would have him move like this. So he's moving faster. He's attempting to move here, and he's moving faster than this would allow him to fall. So he's actually walking down the ceiling. He's inverse walking. You can still see it there. Oh! We got a hit. We got a hit. What the fuck happened here? Okay, so he's center pointing. He gets center pointed into the wall. He gets popped out. Oh, that's funny. He actually gets popped out. Yeah. He actually got popped out. So that's what they do. They just pop him out. Oh, that's funny. So then they don't even correct for it. That is interesting. That's really interesting. It just pops out. They're like, fuck it. Oh, okay. It just pops out. So they don't have a solution. Well, that is interesting. That's really interesting. Let's look at that again. So he's actually... Looks like what he's doing, because both the... I don't know. That's kind of weird there. Where his bottom half is not detecting the wall normally. For some reason. It looks like what's happening here... Let's see, what do we got? You know what? Oh, just... Fuck it. We'll just take the... This is how you study games, kids! Just get right in there. We're gonna need yellow. So we've got... This is our wall on our ceiling, roughly. This is Mario. Okay, so obviously this is his top, and it looks like his bottom is actually center pointed into the wall, which, that's weird. Alright, that's a little weird, but we'll let it slide for a moment. Maybe figure out what the hell's going on here. So it's probably something like this. And he was ceiling walking down. He was sliding down the ceiling because his momentum was higher. Or his gravity was not... his downward momentum was not greater than the angle of the slope going down, so he was pushing into the slope and getting redirected down. He was essentially walking on the ceiling with his head, inverse walking. And that, interestingly enough, seemed to disable his wall detection on this corner. I wonder why they did that. And you know that's the case because, again, he gets popped out. See, he gets shoved even further in, and then he gets popped out. See? Boop. Boop. He actually stops. So now he's in a crouch position because he can't stand fully. So they pushed him out and they made him stand. But he can't stand fully, so he's crouched. And he's actually staying in midair here until that animation is over or something. And now if you look here, I'll take this one as an example too. Now that he's starting to fall, you can clearly see that Mario's center is here, and here's his box. So they are respecting the corner here, because, again, this is your wall. And this is what's happening. And this is essentially what we're doing so far. So they just didn't give a shit. They didn't correct for it, I guess. Or they correct for it in odd ways. It's kind of a weird thing going on. Imagine that. Imagine that. Yeah, I agree. It's probably good enough for most of the cases. And that's strange. See, one of the... And I don't know if they have it in this game. One of the reasons that made me think of it was, in New Super Mario Bros. For Wii, they have these rotating block platforms. I don't know if they've got them here. Like, there are these mushroom blocks. It was in a sky level. Let's see. I don't see... Oh, this might be an interesting one to check out. Let's see how this plays out. More Mountain Dew. Hey, you might as well sponsor me already. Jeez. I do what I like. I punch walls with paint. I'm 96 years old. You do you, Grandpa. You do you. You gotta make ice blocks. Oh, that's good. Let's go back for a second there. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, look at this. Yeah. Yeah. So this was another thing I was thinking of. Like, if Mega Man X is doing his wall climb or wall slide thing, how does that work with these? But yeah, you can see here that, well, I threw it a little off, but it's correcting on this, and it's considering this a wall. So it's just wonk. It's just wonk. They don't give a shit. It's just wonk, and it's fine. In a strict 2D environment, it might look a little weirder, but that's okay. I mean, you could potentially visually correct for this and say that, you know, we're gonna check the angle of this and just slightly move his body part so that it moves to the wall. You know, and maybe like move his butt out a little bit. I mean, not to make Mario look necessarily like X here, but and you could potentially, I don't know, tweening is the word, but you could, no, not tweening. Tweening is not the word. I guess inverse kinematic. Like, you could do something here where you could just make like the boots come out in different, you know. Well, I guess this leg's like way too big for that. You could, I guess you have it like something like this, and then have like the other leg go down here, like just kind of to make sure that like the posing hits it. So you could probably do some stuff in 3D to make that look less jank, even if physically Mario's still, or whoever your character is still up here, you know? Like, the head doesn't have to move. But the leg and shit would move. You could do something like that. Then you don't have to worry about moving some of the other body parts. But just, like, enough to connect. I guess the hand would be more over here. But just enough to connect it a little better. You could do something like that, probably. Like I said, they do that when he stands. Like, this dude's never standing, so it's hard to tell. But if you just stand on a slope, they'll and I'll just draw it here, I guess. So here's the slope. So here's Mario. You know, he's standing like this, and what they'll do is they'll have one knee up and his foot's like this, and then like one leg goes down, and then his foot's like this. They do that in real time. And then, yeah, there's Mario's face, I guess, whatever. Idea. But they end up doing this, and a lot of old 3D games also do. So you look at Ocarina of Time, even in 3D, if you were to get onto an incline, they move Link's knee upward, they bend it up so that his foot doesn't go inside the floor. So they do end up doing that, which it actually makes me a little surprised that they didn't do something like that, but I guess it happened so fast that people probably just don't notice. Oh, that was interesting. Did he run into that and it counted as a wall? Yeah, it looked like he ran, and it looks like that counted as a wall, maybe? Yeah, and he's got moved up really high. And then, cause see, there's this weird transition here. And then it almost looks like he hit a wall? No, it might just be his animation. That's probably just his animation. Looked like there was a stutter, but I think it was just animation of his run cycle. Alright, that was another good study here. Boom. Yeah, he got close and he got bumped out. He's basically wall detecting on the point there, so that's nothing too unusual. But it's more confirmation that that might have been a good one. More confirmation that we're right in our discovery here. Oh, go back. Why'd you skip so far ahead? He hits it, boom. It almost looks like once Mario comes into contact with a surface, his hitbox actually gets a little bigger. But that, you know what, that might just be because it's rotating and pushing into him. It might be an illusion based on that. Yeah, and then same thing we've seen. I think his animation probably, this was probably the last frame that he was on the wall, and then they just kind of tween it into his fall animation because he's turning and stuff. So here it looks like he's still like ledge grabbing in the air, but look at his head, how it's starting to move, and his limbs are getting tweened in to the next position. So this he's not actually still wall sliding here. That's just an animation trick. Oh, that looked interesting. It looks like this game might do a traction system. So instead of having everything in the game is a certain, you just can't go past this angle. Like if you go to this angle, it doesn't work, period. But here, they're actually letting Mario go really, really high up. So either the angle is like really generous, so like he can walk up something like this, or something like this, or they're saying that this object, this gear, has more traction, and therefore its angle, so that, say, the normal angle he can go up is, I don't know, let's say this. But the gear angle he can go up is this. So like, yeah, I guess traction system would be the best way to describe that. Well, let's see what's going on here. Okay, well, don't go too far back. Alright. So he's gonna land on this now. Oh, now that was interesting. Hold on a minute. Look at this. From this frame, here to this frame. Maybe yeah, from this frame to this frame. Look at these 3 frames. 1, 2, 3. Here's what happened. Unless it's an illusion, but I don't think so. It looked like Mario's center point on the bottom only activates when he's falling. So when he's going upward, only this center point works. Because what was going on... Let's see, what's the angle on that? So he was here, and he's moving up and to the left. And what it looks like is that it's, while he's moving up, he's bouncing off like this. But as soon as he starts to go down, as he reaches the peak of his jump, look at this. Watch where his feet go. He starts, oh, I don't want that. He starts sliding in, look at, he starts going actually into it now. Oh, now this is interesting. Because up here, up to this point, you can see it the whole time. He's moving up and to the left. And only at the apex of the jump. Now, right here. And he starts slipping into the floor. And then he lands. How about that? Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting. Alright, hold on. He's spazzing out here too, so let's take a look at what's going on here. Looks like he's probably hitting some kind of code that, broke. Thanks, YouTube. Come on. Stop breaking on me. Okay, so he lands, and it looks like he starts kind of spazzing out a little bit. So he's walking up and into this wall, and that's fine. That looks like it's performing normally. He got pushed up here for some reason. Unless the guy tried to jump, I can't guarantee the guy didn't try to jump. He could have tried to jump, and because of the animation tweening, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes. It kind of looks, yeah, maybe he was trying to jump there. Yeah, I think he was trying to jump, because look at boom, 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 jump, jump, and then see he's jumping and getting on the wall. So I think that's all that was. I think that's all that was. I'm kind of surprised about the center point only working when he's going down, but at the same time I'm not really surprised, because when would you ever need it while going upward, unless a platform was chasing you from underneath? But even then, you wouldn't attach to it till you were falling down anyways, so... Oh, that was funny. What the hell happened there? He almost got crushed. He got totally forced out of that. That's funny, he actually got pushed down out of that instead of being crushed. That's pretty forgiving. That's interesting. Yeah, he hit his head, but he wouldn't have fallen that fast normally. So he's getting pushed out somehow. He's still maintaining that side wall. But the you can definitely tell the center point's taking place on the ceiling though, because like it's inside his fucking head, and it pushes him out. That's interesting. That's something you would, if you just want to crush the player in that situation, you probably can. You don't have to make some kind of fix for that. So it's interesting that they did. They might have felt to be more lenient is a better case in this case. Yeah. Okay. That's what we've seen already. It just wonk. This was a good level to study. Although the weird rotating geometry bullshit. Yeah, nothing else. So the center point only working in one direction might be an efficiency thing, because other than very rare circumstances, would you how would I want to put this? Under only rare circumstances would you ever encounter a platform moving up faster than you're jumping if you're ascending still. So it's kind of wasted resources to bother trying to calculate something coming up from underneath you, as opposed to just saying, let the wall detection do its thing, and just let that ride. As long as you're ascending. But once you start falling down, then the opposite might be true. Where the ceiling stops using center point when you're falling down because, well, you're not moving into a ceiling anymore. So, it don't matter. It's not like you're going to attach to a ceiling. Under any circumstance, perhaps. And you certainly won't attach to a floor while you're ascending. So it doesn't make sense to use the center point, because you're not going to attach to it anyway, so who cares? That's interesting. And I had been thinking about that kind of optimization and whether or not it would be... whether that be any merit to having both center points on top and bottom do their thing. At least in the capacity that of non-walking modes. That's funny. Show spoilers. I wonder how they enforce that. What kind of algorithm did they use for that? Oh, and that's the end of the playthrough. So I think we've got enough information for now. So that's interesting. I didn't expect to see that. That's interesting stuff. That's interesting stuff. Okay. So yeah, what we've got now apparently is just what they do. We don't have a clean pop-out method. But there's certainly some sort of code in place that sends them out. So I'm not going to worry too much about that at the moment, because this just affirms that we're in the right direction, that we're doing things in a manner that that seems to be correct, at least for the goals that I have in mind. So we're doing okay. We'll have to address the pop out a little bit, because as you saw, it didn't it's not it's not calibrated to work properly like this. So we'll figure out a way to address that. But still, I think we're doing pretty good. I have a feeling that Nintendo probably uses a mixture of reactionary and proactive fixes here. So a reactionary one is I'm here, the wall is here, and during my update I moved here. Whoops, okay, hold on. Now we need to back up and get ourselves out of here. That's reactionary. Proactive is I'm going to here, I want to move here, but I'm going to do some tests to figure out if there's anything in my way, and oh, sure enough, here's thing in my way. So I'm going to not actually have moved into it and reacted outward, but do all my testing to make sure that I don't move into it in the first place, and that's proactive. Or at least that's what I call it. So in this case, if you're already standing here and you're in the ceiling here, so that's your center point in the ceiling, there's the ground, and you know your head this way, but then all of a sudden this thing moves so it's like this. That's not proactive. Because now something happened to you that you need to react to. It's like, well, shit, I'm already in it. Well, how the hell do I get out now? I don't really have an answer for that off the top of my head. It's possible that this situation in particular is a reactionary one, where it calculates the best that it can. And we kind of saw that here. I don't know if I took a screen cap of it. Yeah, we don't need that one anymore. I may not have taken a screen cap of it, but it seemed like when he got to a certain point that he ended up popping out and crouching like he was crouched down. It was kind of strange. I'll take like the Mario World version where he's holding his cap down, and then he was like crouched down. It was kind of strange at this point. So I don't know. He was here and he got like bumped out here for some reason. And I assume that's reactionary because like at this point he's actually already inside these colliders by 2 points. So I don't know. In fact, actually his box is probably more like this, probably bigger than that. Based on what we've seen. So they corrected this entire portion here somehow, using some kind of method, and then pushed him out over here as a crouched. Actually, he was probably more or less like here at that point, but he got pushed out, yeah, from like here to over here. Well, either way, now this is an interesting case too because it kind of does look like, unless his head was really here, it really looks like he has 2 center point detections, which sort of flies in the face of what we saw before, where it's only one way up and one way down. But it could have been a specific scenario. Maybe if you're ceiling walking, that the bottom one also activates. Actually, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Because he's not necessarily falling in that state. He's ceiling walking. He's not fully falling. And we do that too, actually. Where if he's walking, you'll notice that he is casting this so that he can detect these. Here. So you do have to do both center points when you're walking. And since he's ceiling walking, even gives more credence to that, the fact that he's ceiling walking and both of his center points are active. But when he's jumping, he only needs 1. Oh boy, I feel vindicated right now. I'm happy to see this result. I think I'm actually on the right track here. I'm a little happy about that. I think that gives us a good direction to go in. Okay. Alright. Well, let's see. What can we do now that we've learned this? What kind of meaningful progression? Yeah, just keep forging ahead, I hear that. What kind of meaningful progression can we get done now that we know all this? So our... excuse me. We only only have corner rays on the top right now. We don't have them while jumping, we're not to that point yet. We only have corner rays while on the top left and right. And I think we need to fire all except maybe the bottom left one in this case. So what we got here, here's us, and here's our center point. So currently, I'm walking up, oh that was shitty. Yeah, somewhere around here. That's pretty good. We shoot a ray here. Hopefully that comes out okay on stream. We shoot a ray here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use blue so it pops out a bit more. That's probably better. Yeah. You shoot a ray here to walk along the ground. You shoot a ray here to see if we hit anything with our center point hit. Now let's say that there's a wall here. We have to shoot this ray in order to catch this wall. And say that there's a wall here. We have to shoot a ray from here to catch this wall here. So those are absolutely necessary to cover those grounds. So what do we need now? Or, you know what? Oh, we'll keep those. And we need this one to be able to detect this wall. And we need this one to be able to detect this wall. Which, actually, just to make this a little more obvious, just so that we can't say that, oh, well, you can just use this corner ray to hit that. Yeah, well, you might not, because if this doesn't reach over, then it's going to miss it. So you want to hit that one. Hit that one, hit that one. So what about these ones here? Like, what's up with these? You're potentially not hitting anything here because, you know, you're underground already. You potentially don't need this one. Anything that wasn't hit here along this line, meaning it's not protruding in from the outside like a face like that. If it's just this, the point check will pick these up. So really the top and bottom are only things that protrude in, but that don't have a point. In fact, that really means that this one here is an invalid case, perhaps. But you could get this case where it would impact here, and it's a straight line. There's no points along here. There's no points. It's just a straight line that both this won't hit and this won't hit. So that works. We still need this ray. But these things in the middle here, you don't need this to find them, because there's points. It would have to be a single non-pointed object. So even if you have something like this, again, that's still a point. You're still gonna have that. So is there anything that this thing will catch that this won't? In fact, actually, this is also a bad example here, because what I really should be doing is this. So this will hit here. But this won't hit anything, potentially, that this wouldn't already have hit. And this thing here would just hit the ground immediately and be like, I'm out. Should this impact this? I don't think so. Because it should stop you here, not here. You should be able to let this corner be unobtrusive by this, but the center point, the edge here, should be able to detect where the center point is and then push itself back. So I think that works out. So again, we still don't need this bottom one. I don't think you could argue that if this hits something, or if this doesn't hit something, then you would shoot these off, but I don't think that that holds weight either. Because on the head here, say you didn't hit this, but you still need to detect these, right? So I don't see where that would help. Yeah, you still need this one though. So hear me out. Say now you're in the air. And you're moving up this way. That's a terrible box here. You're moving up this way. You're still gonna need this potentially. So here's this ray here, and then this ray here. So if there's a wall here, you need to detect that. Or even better, there's a wall here, you need to detect that. So say that this won't hit that. But that's a point. However, yeah, okay, that is a point, but let me put this here just so we can play with it without having to redraw it. You could still have this, and that's not a point within our walking zone. So this is still valid. We have to have that. The only one it looks like we don't have to have is whatever this one is. Whatever the one farthest away, I guess, from our direction vector. Or, well, I shouldn't have said it like that. The one farthest away from the corner of the direction that we're moving. So if we're moving this way, this is the closest corner. This is the farthest corner from that direction. So this is the only redundant one that I think we've got here. There's nothing this thing's gonna find that this one already hasn't. As far as that, and if it's, again, if it's a point detection, then the rays aren't used for those anyway, so it doesn't matter. So this might be the only one that we don't need. So what about going down? That was almost straight. So now we're going this way. First we'll do it while walking. is this one. This one, I suppose, might be necessary. This one will be necessary. Because it will detect anything like this that this one didn't get, but we did find it here. This one will be necessary. Oh, that's awful. I mean, they're not all the same, but you get the idea. That one was way too far. I don't know if this one might be necessary or not. I guess so. I don't know. Kind of feels like this one's unnecessary. What's this gonna catch that this one already didn't? Oh, you know what it will? It'll catch this. That's what it'll catch. Although we shouldn't already have moved into something either. Anything that you would see should be here or farther away. That's curious. But this one is definitely not needed. What are you going to bump into here that this already hasn't found? So this one is potentially unneeded. And that one's definitely unneeded. Let's look here. You could argue that this one's unneeded. And this one's definitely unneeded. But while not walking, I don't know, would you need that one or not? This one here. When you're going up. You might not. Again, like what we saw, that might be why they nixed it. They're like, you're going up. What the hell do you need this for? As long as you're ascending, you don't need to check that. You need to check this, though. And you need to check this. Oh, that's a terrible set. I assume they're all going in the right direction. But you don't need this one, right? That might be why they nixed it. You're going up, you don't need those. You're going down, you don't need these. Potentially. Although, in the air... you might still need them. Yeah, okay. I think I know why this one might still be useful, actually. It depends on what's your angle here of the wall. So if this is a wall, this one will catch. But if this is not a wall, if this is a walkable surface, then this one will not catch, but this one will. So you still have to have this. If this is a detected walkable angle.
I found a dog, can I keep it?
What?
I found a dog, can I keep it?
You found a dog?
Yeah.
Big one, small one?
Not much bigger than ours.
Was she wandering around outside?
Yeah, it's that white one with the half orange face. I got a better look at her today. She let me touch her more.
Oh, is it somebody's or?
No, she's just been wandering aimlessly for like a month. She's real sweet, but she cowers, so somebody's been beating her.
Oh, that's awful. Well, bring her in for now. We'll decide what to do with her later.
Well, she's gone, but you know, because Rosie's out there, and Rosie's.
Oh, she's afraid of Rosie.
Rosie's weird with new dogs.
Yeah. She'll get weird with her.
But she gets used to it quick.
I tried to lure her in with food, and we'll decide what to do with her. Okay. Somebody must be feeding her, though, right? She's been out there that long.
Well, I fed her today, but that was the first time. I mean, I guess she's getting scraps or something. My mom might be throwing out dry dog food.
Well, you said, though, she's been beaten. Maybe she is somebody's. They just let her roam.
I think they just don't give a shit. So
yeah, like they don't give a shit.
Beat her, they don't deserve her, and they probably don't care. But more than anything, they don't fucking deserve her.
Yeah.
They deserve my fucking boot against their skull. You know,
pretty much. Yeah. Alright, we'll decide what to do.
I want to yell!
You want to yell? Okay.
Now do math.
Yell.
Do math, you virgin!
Virgin? Are you kidding me?
Wonder how long does it take you?
Just for the record, we're not abstaining.
Living in sin.
Yeah, you could say that. Exposed.
Oh no.
Exposed.
Mark likes boobies. Tee.
I do, very much.
He does. A lot.
Very, very much. So yeah, I think you still need to fire this thing off. But if you detect a wall, yeah, if you detect, I don't know. I guess, oh man, this is weird. So I guess if you're moving up, let's just assume that we're going to copy what we saw here. Did I save that as a picture? Yeah, no, I didn't save that as a picture. Assume that we're gonna copy the wonky behavior that we saw, where he only starts to check for center points when he's falling. What they might be doing is firing these ones first. They're probably not firing this one at all. But they're probably firing this one first. And if this finds anything, if this finds a wall as opposed to a ceiling or a floor, then that's it. They don't fire this one. But if this thing finds a walkable surface, then this one activates and then fires off. Potentially. Because you don't want to... No, yeah, even then. If he's in the air, this one's still going to push him out even if it's walkable. Alright, let's back up a second. Let me think, let me clear my head here. It's time for real noggin time here. Real thinking power. If he's going up, is there even a need for this at all? If he's jumping, if he's in the air. Obviously if he's on the ground, you do need to shoot that to figure out where the hell you're going. If he's in the air, if he's jumping up, see, there's a failure state here too. This one might be really hard to get a good read on. I probably have to review more stuff. So here's the scenario and where this might fail. They must be doing something special here. Let's say Mario is running, or whoever your character is running up here. So he's going this way. And in the next frame, you jump. So now you're airborne. I'm going to move him just a little forward so it's a little easier just to see the two. So now he's jumped. He's left the ground. There's a distance here. Now, here's the problem. You've just left the ground and you're traveling upwards. So the rules that we've observed would say that... I don't know, let's get blue. And there's soap on my finger that I just rubbed my eye with, so it burns like hell. That's great. So we're moving this way, right? Now the laws of physics, I guess, the laws of Mario physics that we've observed said that while he's in the air and he's moving up, these act like walls. No, I'm good. it teared up and washed out. Thank you, though.
Cool. I'll get drops.
Yeah, she was gonna give me eye drops. That's okay. Nature's eye drops took care of it.
My body doesn't make them. That's why I have to get special eye drops.
Yeah, that sucks. So while Mario's walking or jumping up here, what we saw is that even walkable surfaces were getting rejected by the corners. So would that not mean that you'd get pushed out if you jumped off of a ledge here? Or a slope? If you jumped from a slope, would you get pushed out? To then be over here instead, which probably doesn't happen. I didn't notice anything that janky. So what that means is there's probably some kind of flag associated with the corners. So that this won't do that behavior for as long as it remembers that you're inside the wall with this ray. But once you leave that space, and now you're up here, now that rule becomes active because you can shoot a ray and you're not at 0 distance here. You can shoot a ray and you can actually get a result. So it must have some kind of flag where it's no, no, yes. We're outside of the floor. Now we're going to activate that code. So that makes sense. I think that makes sense. It's getting pretty complicated pretty quick. But I'm starting to be able to visualize it in my head. So that's good. So while grounded, is this ray necessary? I don't know. This one certainly isn't. But the center point is. I guess you would still want to fire this one. Especially if you're going down. If you're going down, you definitely need to fire this one. But do you need to fire this one? Maybe not. Could be a contextual thing where you just kind of read what angle you're going at. I mean, you could still fire this one, you're just going to get a result of 0 because you're already inside the 4. I don't know. Not really sure about that. I guess if there's a distance of 0, we ignore it. And then we look for anything else that might be in the way. How would you... I don't know. How would you say that that's an invalid... It's an invalid result. If you're moving right, and the angle is down, then you just don't fire this one. We gotta have some kind of exclusionary thing here. Let's see, let's just observe what our eyeballs, not think about the math so much, but let's observe and think just based on what we see, because there's a difference between what we can see and what we can mathematically prove. So we've got more observation methods with our eyeballs here. If the floor is going up and we're going up, yeah, if we're moving in an upward direction while walking to the right, we're going upright, we don't need this. We can tell that just by looking. It doesn't seem to make sense that we need that information. So when going here while walking, we don't need this one. We do need this because we're walking. We don't need this one because it cuts through us and that doesn't make any sense. We do need this one. We do need this one. And we do need this one. We seem to need this one. We don't need that one. And that's with a 4 like this. Oh god. Oh god. The toolbar. Let's take the same scenario. Say, we're now going down. We need this one. For sure, because we're walking. We need this one to detect things we didn't get with this. Such as something like that. Don't need this one. We don't need this one, because it's the farthest from our direction. And we arguably may not need this one. Don't know about that. We might still need it only because these two do detect different things. This will detect only a wall, but this one will detect a wall and a ceiling. But this one will ignore a ceiling, so I guess we still need those. My follower thing's broken. What's that now? Hold on. There we go. Okay, the subscriber thing was fixed. I don't know why it wasn't showing up for some reason. The subscriber text wasn't showing, but now it is. Yeah, so we do need those. We don't need that one, and we don't need this one. It's interesting the way that works. Okay, now the opposite scenarios here. We need this. We need this. We need this. We need this. We don't need this, and we don't need this. This one's on the inside. We don't care about it. Potentially. And this one's the opposite, so we don't need that. We don't care about it. The only scenario I'm thinking of that it might be possible to require that bottom one might be this. Now, even then, I don't know. Say you have this scenario here. Let's see if this makes any sense. Actually, might have to be the reverse angle there. So something like this, where, oh, you know what? We might not have to deal with this, but let's see. Let me draw it out. We do need these. We do need that. We do need this. We're gonna have this. So the idea is, do we need this? So to be able to detect this, so that we don't move farther than this. We might not need that. I don't know. I guess we would. I mean, we could say, oh sure, we're gonna hit the point here, but you see this is angled, and so this part of the line is further out from this point. It's got a greater X position. Oh man, now this shit's complicated. But how do we intelligently factor in the difference between this scenario and this scenario? So let's say this is what we have. These are both solid shapes. And we're moving up this way. So we'll hit here. Hit nothing here. Just for clarity's sake, get this the hell out of here. Hit nothing there. We hit nothing here. However, we will hit here. We're not doing this one. Just so we have the directional here. And we're moving this way. This would hit here, and it would also hit here, and that might be useful information. But it's also going to hit here. We don't know necessarily that this isn't a valid thing. It's under the 4. Okay, yeah, well, this hit is under the 4 too. If you assume that the 4 is this line here, yeah, it's under the 4. So how would you differentiate those two? That could be an edge case that we may have to correct for. In fact, probably the better way to demonstrate this in particular is this. Let's say it's not even a pointed condition here. Say that this is a wall. Say it's steep enough to be a wall. Well, you hit it here. You hit it here. This one did not find it, but this one did. This one sure as hell did. And it found it right here. And yeah, you don't want to move into that, right? So what's potentially the difference between these two? And we can see, oh, well, this is inside a contained thing, so we don't want to do that. Okay. This doesn't have to be a point here. Just like the above example that I just edited. You could be this scenario. So let's get rid of this here. Say now that the shape is this instead. All right, well, get rid of this too. So we hit here. This is not valid. It's not a valid hit. But it may have hit sooner from here to here. Maybe a shorter distance from here to here. So the bottom hits first. Now this one's fine because they're two separate shapes. So just to be more explicit here, it's this versus that. Because this comes up here and then back down, there's a space there, so this is a valid collision. It happens outside of one collider into the other, so we can say that. We can say that's for sure. That's a tricky one. That's a really tricky one. How can you guarantee that that's actually valid? See, the danger here is if we do allow this to act on this information, we'll bump into this subfloor and we'll stop before you even touch the side. We'll end up at this position, essentially. Or well, we'll be a little higher, but you get the idea. We'll be like here. And we wouldn't have actually touched the other one yet. When what we should be doing is going all the way up to this. There's our center points there. Like you can make it even crazier, like the fact that the line could be like this, and you're gonna hit it immediately as you're walking up. Like, I'm thinking that, yeah, I drew it crudely, but I don't think there's any mathematical case where this, like, say this would always hit first or sooner or whatever. I don't think that's true. I think you could actually hit this before you hit something else. So it's a danger. It's definitely something to think about. So you could, let's look at it from the opposite angle. Say we're gonna just ignore these then. We'll ignore both of them. What's the danger of that? Well, for one, you're in danger of this peak potentially ending where you're going. I don't know if you can detect exit wounds, so to speak. So when you shoot a ray, and shoot is a good word here, you get an entrance wound, but you don't get informed of the exit wound. But I'm wondering if there's a way that you can get informed of an exit wound. And then you could, in that case, that could fix this. Because it's hard to see here because it's all bunched together. But essentially, the situation is this. You got your exit wound that you're not going to see. You're only going to see this. But here's the trick. You don't know that you've cleared this. So the only difference we see here is whether or not we have exited our original collider, have gone into air, and then re-entered another collider. We can't tell that because there's no way to check this exit wound. We're firing from inside the body to go out. There's no exit wound. We can't check that as far as I'm aware. And then you can see the new entrance wound. But we don't know if that's inside, like here, whether it's inside or outside. Which is, this is a magnified version of this up here. So who knows, man? Fuck, who knows? We need to get this exit one potentially to say, hey, we're back out in free space, I guess. Well, arguably, you could say that here, let me just draw that so it's easier to see. How does that work? Oh. Now let's get a better angle. I'll use triangles, because that works. So we started down here, and we went here, right? So that's the same situation. That's magnified versions of these. We did not get an exit one, but we did get an entrance one. Because this is the second collider here. This is open air, this is floor, this is floor inside of floor. And we can see that and say, oh yeah, that floor is inside the floor, but you know, proving that mathematically is a different affair. Here, we see the entrance wound, but we also can say that only if we exited back to air do we need to do that. Okay. Well, what about this? No, hold on. What if this is this now? Like, I don't know, maybe that's not. I'm trying to think of ways that this, if we could magically detect the exit wound, does that actually solve our issue? Or not? Would that actually help? sure it would solve it necessarily. But now that I'm thinking of it, I'm trying to think in my head what ways to break this, but the way I was thinking actually wouldn't break it. This actually would still hold up. Raycast, on Raycast sleeve, how? Yeah, that's what I want to know. How? Oh, that's a little small. Okay. Is there any? There's no. This one's upvoted the most. Is there a Raycast sleeve? Yeah, on trigger exit for Raycast. I don't think that's what we're looking for. I don't think those guys are answering the question. Yeah, technical objects no longer hit by the Raycast. That's what I want to know. Try swapping your update to this. What's he got? If Raycast. Nah, that's between updates. That's between updates. That's not really what we're looking for. Ultimate welder? What the hell? What kind of class is that? What game are you making? Ultimate welder? Is a game about welding? Weld particle? No, I don't think this is related to what we're trying to do. Entry and exit points, Raycast. Entry and exit points. One solution I'm about to implement, which means you haven't done it yet, I guess. Ensure that a backing board option system board is oh, okay. I think what he's going to tell us is we can simulate this by doing two Raycasts. You shoot in this direction. Let's see where. You shoot in this direction, and then you turn right back around and shoot back. I'm going to use a different color. Shoot right back in this direction. And then you won't get this, but you will get this. So you shoot two rays. You're like firing two guns into each other. Then you'll find the exit wound because you shot in the other direction, so now it's an entrance wound. I guess you could do that. That seems like the obvious answer, I guess, if there's no other way to do it. Yeah, I suppose. So here's the thing. If you shoot there and then you shoot back, right? You're actually not going to find this, and you will not find an entrance wound on here because you're already inside it, and that will tell you that. It might be an inefficient way to do it, but that will certainly give you the information that we're looking for. If there's no return entry point, then you know it's still inside the floor collider and you want to ignore it. It would work. I'm not sure firing an additional ray is the smartest way to handle this, but it would work. You'll know at least if you've exited your original floor. So, we'll have to retract this. This one is still needed. And likewise, this one is still needed. But this one will never be needed. Or will this one? There's nothing it's going to catch that this ship would have already catched. Or caught. Or would not have already caught. So, likewise. This here. That's needed, but this will never be needed, as far as I'm aware. I don't see any reason to have this one. I probably should change these, because these are not really rays, but I could do that. Let's do that instead. So we know that we're walking down this way. Or you know what? I'll be honest. You see what way the rays are going anyway, so you can kind of already tell where you're headed. So let's just get rid of those. Not needed, but these sure as hell are needed. I'm just gonna move them down. Alright, let's do the final scenario here while walking. This one won't be needed. We're going down this way. But this will be needed. That's this scenario we're talking about here. This is the real exception one that we need to see if we leave and come back. So might we say that when we're attached to ground or ceiling, if we fire a corner ray, that has a 0 distance of the thing that we're attached to, we then need to fire a ray backwards to see if we've exited at any point. If we have not exited, then we ignore the results of this ray and we continue on in our checks. Could you boil that down to anything that has an instant 0 distance thing? Do we want to ignore it if it doesn't exit whatever it's touching? So, independent of what actually, say, the center point is touching. What if you've got this? What if you got this? So the center point's taking care of this. Say this is a 4. Do it this way. Say this is a 4. Our center point is here. So we're not walking on this. We're still walking on here. This ray starts on the inside of this. And since it's a 4, the corners won't react to it. But we do need to check if there's a wall here, for instance. So we may not react to walking this way, but we may react to this here as a wall. Or even better, if I do it. Let me do it up to this point. Well, I guess you would get the point here, though. That would prevent you from going in. But if this also crosses here. Yeah, this also crosses here. Then this point will be farther back than this intersection here. So you still need that. But this is because this is only a spike here. And so it went out, and you can tell we're already in it when we fire. So we need to know to look backwards and say, oh yeah, there's an exit wound here. Because we're finding it going in the other direction. And in that case, this is a valid wall. Let's step back and say that the 4 goes like this, and we've got this that we hit. Okay, we have a distance of 0 because we're already inside the wall and this ray goes off. Or in the 4. So we check the opposite direction and we find that no, in the entire course of our travel here, we do not leave this. We're still inside of it. So we disregard this case. This would be something that we would have caught otherwise. So it looks like it could be a blanket rule. If you start inside a collider, a valid collider, be it a 4 or whatever, you have to fire backwards. Let's see if you've left that thing. If you haven't left it, then it doesn't matter. We'll ignore it. But if you have left it, well, that's a different story. Furthermore, you'll have to see. Here, let's do this scenario. When you fire backwards, have you left? Okay, here's your exit wound, sure. But is this exit wound closer or farther than the entrance wound? So in this case, I think we should still ignore it. we should still ignore this box. Because the entrance wound on the box is inside here. And you only need distance to tell that because you're shooting in the same direction, or well, the opposite directions. So if the distance here from the exit wound to the source is greater than the distance to the entrance wound of the next collider, ignore it. So only if you have yet another circle or another square out here, this entrance wound is farther away than this one. So now this one is valid. That would make sense. I think that makes sense. So the real lesson that we've got here is if at the moment of firing the ray we find a valid wall for whatever at the distance of 0, meaning that we're inside of it when we fire that ray, we have to double back and check and compare that to every new entrance wound. We have to compare the exit wound, and if they're beyond the exit wound, fine. But if they're not, if they're before it, then we don't want to take that. That's an invalid result. It's a no-no. I think that's a very solid way of doing that. I think that makes a lot of sense. And so the only ones that will not apply to are the center points, because they're handled differently anyway. They're going to detect the collider that they're on at the 0 distance. They're going to detect the floor that you're currently attached to as that. Because what you want to be able to find is if you go from here and you shoot here, did I find another floor that I can then walk on? You do need to see that. And so you haven't exited this one, but that's because it's shooting along the floor. So that rule would make that process fail, but that's a special case, again, because that's the center point. So we only apply this new rule. Let me back up this. We only apply this new rule on the corner rays. Or rather, you could say non-center point, be them head or bottom. That makes sense, I think. That makes a lot of sense. I was gonna say, yeah, I probably should save this. Yeah, we'll get out of Pocket Fighter here, because that's a Monday project. Get out of here. More rays, I guess. I don't know. I can always check the creation date to see what that is. Okay, so that's walking. And then, so going straight will be a variation of one or the other of these. That's fine. Yeah, if we're straight, as long as we're going right. Let's see, how can we boil this down to a rule 2, this exclusion here? I'll be honest, I think we could fire this ray anyway. It would be inefficient, but we could fire it. We just wouldn't get any results that were meaningful. And so it would always be omitted. Now, it's a waste to fire it. So we probably want to look into an exclusionary algorithm, where it's a way to determine which one of these is not actually needed. But if we were to actually fire all of them, that information would just never get used. It would never be more valid than any of the other results. So it would just be a blank shot, basically. But just shooting it across CPU cycles, so you don't want to do that. But it won't hurt to have it. It won't cause the system to malfunction, rather I should say, to have this. To actually fire this ray, that's not necessary. It's inefficient, but it won't cause the system to malfunction. So we'll keep that in mind. Alright, so now we're in air. Air up, I guess. No, well, yeah, I guess we'll go for we'll try to mimic the same direction, so going upwards. And time's up, I guess. So, I guess I'll leave this for later. Not today, no. There's not enough time to get to program any of this out, so I don't see a reason to do any overtime at this point. It's mostly discussion. I'll do the air ones quick, and then that'll be it. We determined that this one will never be needed. But do we need to shoot this one in air? I kind of inclined to think no. I mean, what is this going to find that we already haven't found, right? Like, let me grab this. Like, you already shouldn't be here. Like, the previous update would have moved you from here to here, and then you would have found this in the previous update. So this that wouldn't be a thing that would happen. Now, only because we're in the air. Just like we had seen. Mario was not detecting 4. He was detecting only... He was detecting only wall. I'll have to think about that a little more. But it doesn't seem like that. This one? Maybe? So, going down. We absolutely need this. We absolutely need this. We absolutely need this. We don't need this. We need this. And this one, maybe? Again, that's the same thing as this one here. Well, what would this even find that we already haven't found? You're assuming this is your start position, so you're looking for anything here, you know, that's gonna get hit. But there's nothing that this won't see that this will see. That's not an object inside with a point that we can detect with the point detection. So going up, yeah, it's right. Yeah, it's going that way. So we don't need this one. We do need this. need that. And we do need that, but we don't know if we need this. And then going down right. We don't need this. We do need this. Absolutely need this. Yeah, I guess we'd be checking for this. And this one would be the... maybe? Now you absolutely need this one. Because if you're detecting 4 here, this 4 will not trigger this. This will not happen. And this, even if it hits it, will not happen. Because the corners ignore 4s. But this will definitely hit it, so you do need that one. And that goes for this, and this, and this. It's all the same, just between the ceilings and the floors. And I'm just gonna put a divide here so that I know that this is a separate thing. I guess that makes sense. So, okay. That kind of fills that out. I gotta think about this a little more before we head to the next step. And I might prototype some code or think about how to implement some of this, but I think we did a lot of good research today, and that's honestly half the battle. That kind of cleared up a bunch of issues that I was already thinking about. So it was definitely a worthwhile venture, even if it's just research, quote unquote. You know, we didn't progress, quote unquote, but we did. We did in design. So we figured out, or well, we've observed some of the concerns that I've had, and we've seen one way of dealing with them. That's what I'll say about it. Doesn't mean we have to accept those ways of correction. But we've observed in practice an intelligent and decent quality solution for the concerns that I've had. So there's at least a safety net here that if nothing further or better has been found, we do have that foundation. And we can use that knowledge to at least alleviate those initial concerns. Probably the best way I can put that. So that's good. That's really good, actually. That's very reassuring on many fronts. So I'm actually very happy about that. And it was pretty fun to see some of the little quirky bits there that they're doing. But yeah, everything seems to square out okay. We seem to be okay on that. So I'm happy about that. I think that's good. And I think that's where I'll leave it. So now it's up to me to determine, to take this information that we have and then try to formulate an actual mathematical plan on how to implement it. Again, I may just forego the omission of this for now. It looks like there's a clear enough pattern to potentially figure a way to omit all this, but I might not have to initially, only because all the information here that would be gathered will be nothing. It'll be null and void. It won't matter. It will never actually hit anything. Not anything important. That everything else may... If it hits anything, it's already been hit by something else, and that has better data to work with than that corner piece. So, but I'll think about it. There's a clear pattern here. You could say if you're moving up and to the right, you don't do it. Well, if you're walking and the angle of the floor is straight or up, you don't do it. You're walking and the angle is straight or down, you don't do it. If you're moving down left or to the bottom left where you are, you know, there's a clear pattern here that you can see, and it's just finding the most efficient mathematical way to create that omission that's both accurate and efficient. You have to make sure that the calculations required to omit this one are not greater than just firing the ray anyway. If it takes longer to figure out which one to omit than to fire the ray, well then now it's not efficient and it doesn't matter, and you might as well just fire the ray and hit nothing. But that's pretty much it for that. So I guess we'll close it out now. It was a very productive Wednesday. It's actually ended up in a happier place than I thought it would. So that's good. I'm happy about that. Happy place, happy thoughts, happy little clouds and trees, right? Happy little rays of sunshine, right? Right? Ray casting sunshine. Keep a positive outlook. Alright, so we are a patron-funded stream, and I do have some top-tier patrons to read out. So we've got Zombie Killer, we got Corporal Chungus, we got Mike Cruz, we got Taryn Williams, AJ, and Bryce Nagalino. So thank you very much. You are our generals in the Scrub Army. And if you too want to be in the Scrub Army, the link to the Patreon is down below. You can get advanced builds of all of the projects that I lead that are progressed enough to get them. You can get code samples, you get access to a special Discord channel, all that good stuff. So check that out if you're interested. That supports this stream and my efforts in programming and design and all that. So that helps out quite a bit, because it does cost to have the software and hardware to do all this stuff. So I'll be back next Thursday with more of this platforming engine. On Monday we're gonna have Pocket Fighter EX, the fighting fan game, back every Monday. And Saturday, which I still haven't had time to hook the PS2 up to see if it works. If the PS2 works, we're playing Silent Hill 2. If the PS2 doesn't work, I forget what Amber wanted to play instead. Amber, what'd you want to play if we couldn't play Silent Hill 2?
What?
If we can't play Silent Hill 2, what did you want to play instead?
Resident Evil 3!
I'm not playing that with you.
Why?
Because I'm waiting for the remake.
No, I got you, big baby!
You didn't answer. You had a different game in mind when I asked you last time.
I don't remember it!
You don't remember it. Well, okay then! Jesus!
Fuck you!
Alright, we'll play something. I'm not playing Resident Evil 3 without the remake happening. I've only played the remake so far. I want to keep that up. I think it'd be worth the wait. So, we'll figure something out. We'll play something. Doesn't matter. So that's pretty much it. And all those streams are at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'll see you, hopefully, Saturday. Oh, and AJ's playing Castlevania 3 tomorrow, I believe. Right here. I don't know when he's going to start, though. So, look forward to that. He's going to do an Alucard run, which is apparently really difficult. That's the one that I rage quit on. So that'll be interesting. And we'll see what he comes up with tomorrow. So, I guess that's it for now. Scrub out, have a good one, and we'll see you next time.